Welcome to HD Rare Coins, your ultimate source for rare coins, fascinating history, and the thrill of discovery. From legendary pennies to hidden gems, we explore the world of numismatics one amazing coin at a time. In 1987, a year marked by technological progress, economic shifts, and the lingering tensions of the Cold War, everyday items reflected the quiet consistency of American culture. Amidst cassette tapes, VHS rentals, and the first steps toward personal computing, one humble object remained a constant in the lives of millions: the penny. And within the world of numismatics, the 1987 USA 1 cent penny coin holds a unique place, quietly woven into the fabric of American history, yet capable of yielding great surprises to those who know where to look. On the obverse of the 1987 penny stands the timeless figure of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. Sculpted by Victor David Brenner, Lincoln's profile has appeared on the penny since 1909, originally to mark the centennial of his birth. This design made history not only by honoring a president for the first time on a U.S. coin but also by introducing a level of artistry and detail that was uncommon at the time. By 1987, Lincoln's solemn profile had become a familiar presence in the hands and pockets of Americans, a visual echo of leadership and integrity. Beneath Lincoln's chin is the D Mint mark, denoting the coin's origin at the Denver Mint. Above him are the words, "In God We Trust," while to his left appears the word Liberty. The year 1987 rests to the right, crisp and clean on well-preserved examples. This side of the coin is more than just a tribute, it is a piece of history continuing through generations. The reverse of the coin showcases the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. Introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, this image replaced the original wheat ears and brought a modernized perspective to the penny. The Lincoln Memorial reverse not only embodies the architectural strength of the monument but, if examined closely, reveals a tiny statue of Lincoln seated between the pillars, an impressive feat of miniature engraving. The inscriptions, "United States of America, E Pluribus Unum," and "1 cent," surround this central image, reaffirming its national identity. The Denver Mint produced over 4.5 billion of the 1987 pennies, making it one of the more common mintages of its era. Given the vast numbers, one might assume the coin is of little interest to collectors. However, numismatics is rarely about quantity alone. What truly matters are condition, anomalies, and the story behind the coin. Condition is everything. A coin graded MS-66 or higher is not easy to come by, especially when considering the wear and tear of decades in circulation. A mint state example must exhibit a brilliant red luster, free of blemishes, scratches, or weak strikes. These high-grade coins are the ones that excite collectors, as they represent the absolute pinnacle of preservation. A 1987 penny in MS-67 red has been known to fetch well over $1,000 at auction, particularly when slabbed and verified by grading giants like PCGS or NGC. Then there are the errors, the fascinating quirks that occur during the minting process and turn ordinary coins into prized possessions. From off-center strikes to double dies, from die cracks to struck-through errors, the 1987 penny has seen its share of anomalies. A particularly famous example includes a 1987 penny with a dramatic die cap error, which distorted Lincoln's face into an eerie mask-like visage. That coin sold for several $100s, drawing gasps and fascination from collectors at a regional coin show. Another collector favorite is the repunched mint mark (RPM). Sometimes, the Denver Mint mark appears slightly doubled due to being punched more than once. These varieties, when noticeable and confirmed, can command a premium, especially in mint state. One such RPM was discovered by a young collector in Colorado who had inherited a coffee tin of old coins from his grandfather. Inside it, nestled among ordinary cents, was a clean, uncirculated 1987 with a clearly visible RPM. The coin later graded MS-66 and sold for over $500. While some dismiss modern pennies as too common to care about, the 1987 proves that history, art, and mystery can still be found in the most overlooked of places. The coin is often used as a teaching tool in numismatics clubs and classrooms, where young collectors learn the difference between good eye appeal and poor condition, how to use a magnifier, and why the tiniest detail can mean the difference between 1 cent and hundreds of dollars. There's also the appeal of nostalgia. The 1980s are enjoying a cultural resurgence, and coins from the decade are becoming more collectible, both for their vintage value and their role in telling the story of a generation. The 1987 penny, though small, speaks to an era before smartphones, before digital currency, when cash transactions and physical coins were part of daily life. Among those who actively searched through bank rolls or coin jars, the thrill of discovering a perfect 1987 penny is very real. The excitement builds when an uncirculated, full red example appears, and increases exponentially if the coin shows signs of a unique error. Videos and posts about such finds have gone viral, encouraging more and more people to pay attention to the change in their pockets. That it's not uncommon for these pennies to be found in original mint sets, often untouched since they were issued. These sets provide some of the best chances to uncover a pristine example. Coin dealers often advise collectors to keep an eye on unopened 1987 mint sets at estate sales, auctions, and online marketplaces, as they sometimes yield high-grade specimens that have gone unnoticed for decades. In the broader context of Lincoln cents, the 1987 fills an important role. It is a midpoint between the early memorial years and the later copper-plated zinc compositions. It also sits within a stretch of years where modern minting technology was improving but still prone to quirks that make for intriguing errors and varieties. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln memorial cents often target the 1987 as part of a complete date and mint mark collection, a challenging but rewarding endeavor. Others are drawn to the coin for its value potential, hoping to spot an unrecognized treasure before the rest of the market catches on. In a world increasingly dominated by digital currency, the humble penny continues to hold its own. The 1987 though mass-produced, remains a quiet cornerstone of everyday Americana, and a reminder that even the smallest coin can carry great worth, not only in money but in story, art, and memory. And so, the next time you receive a handful of change and spot a penny with a small D under Lincoln's bust and the date 1987, take a moment. Look closer. Because in your hand might be more than a cent. It might be a connection to history, a collector's prize, or even, if the strike is sharp, the surface pristine, and the luck just right, a small copper coin worth hundreds or thousands of times its face value. That's the magic of numismatics. And that's the quiet brilliance of the 1987 penny. As time marches on, coins like the 1987 become time capsules, simple, accessible links to a past era. Their value lies not just in metal or scarcity, but in the stories they carry and the joy they bring to those who seek them out. Whether tucked inside a mint set or resting unnoticed in a jar of loose change, these coins whisper the legacy of the everyday American experience. And for the collector who listens, they offer far more than face value. They offer a journey. For those passionate about building a long-term coin portfolio, the 1987 penny offers a solid starting point. It is accessible, widely known, and has just enough variance in condition and error types to keep even experienced collectors engaged. Tracking auction trends, following coin grading updates, and staying connected to the numismatic community can uncover hidden gems in even the most modest-looking coins. And perhaps, most importantly, this penny reminds us that the stories we carry in our pockets often outlast fleeting trends. They endure in collections, in memories, and in the thrill of discovery. In 2004, the world was undergoing rapid change. Technology was speeding forward, the internet was entering every household, and the price of copper quietly continued to rise. Yet, amidst these sweeping shifts, the United States Mint kept on with a tradition that stretched back nearly a century, producing the humble yet historic Lincoln cent. Among the billions of coins struck that year, one stood out, not because it was flashy, not because it was rare at first glance, but because of what it could become. The 2004 Lincoln penny, struck in Denver, became a coin that numismatists would later whisper about, not for how it looked, but for what it sometimes hid. It was small, lightweight, and instantly familiar, the profile of Abraham Lincoln, facing right, eyes forward, a quiet strength behind that solemn stare. On the obverse, just as it had appeared since Victor David Brenner's original 1909 design, the word "Liberty" balanced the left field of the coin, while "In God We Trust" arched above Lincoln's head, and the date 2004, followed by the small D mint mark proudly stood near his chest. It was 1 cent. That was all. Or so it seemed. At the time, the U.S. Mint was still producing pennies from a composition that had changed 2 decades earlier, a zinc core coated with a thin shell of copper. This change, made in 1982, helped reduce production costs, but it also introduced challenges in quality control. Coins could blister. The copper coating might bubble or flake. Even the tiniest strike irregularity became more visible on these newer, lighter blanks. And that's where the 2004 D began to set itself apart. That year, over 3.4 billion pennies were minted in Denver. On paper, that sounds like a death sentence for rarity. But among those billions, anomalies began to surface: small die cracks, strange doubling, and even coins that seemed to show ghostly features on Lincoln's bust or the memorial reverse. Some were dismissed as damage, others passed over without a second glance. But a few collectors, the sharp-eyed and patient ones, knew better. One of the earliest discoveries was a die clash, a coin where the obverse and reverse dies had struck together without a blank planchet in between, leaving behind faint, mirrored impressions of each side onto the other. These errors are subtle, but once noticed, impossible to unsee. On one such 2004 D penny, Lincoln's shoulder appeared faintly on the steps of the memorial, and parts of the columns from the reverse could be traced near his jawline. It wasn't an illusion, it was mint history imprinted by mistake, but perhaps the most exciting discovery came a few years later. A sharp collector in Montana stumbled upon a strange 2004 D penny. The color was slightly off, richer, deeper, almost reddish bronze. When weighed, it came in heavier than standard. Testing revealed something shocking: this penny had been struck on a pre-1982 copper planchet, likely an older blank mistakenly fed into the 2004 presses. Suddenly, what was once common became astonishing. That single coin, weighing just over 3.1 grams, would later sell for over $10,000 at auction, because it wasn't just a mistake, it was a time capsule. The Denver Mint in 2004, though equipped with modern machinery and tight processes, still saw its share of human error. Dies were replaced often, yet sometimes small fractures went unnoticed. Die deterioration set in on certain runs, creating cuds and die chips, especially around Lincoln's eye and the fort in the date. Collectors began calling these little blobs of metal spitting Lincolns, and soon, coin forums lit up with shared photos of these imperfections. While minor, coins with crisp, obvious die breaks commanded $20 to $50 online, and were being pulled from circulation even a decade later. Proofs were not made in Denver that year, but the Philadelphia Mint's 2004 satin finish and proof coins added a layer of intrigue. These flawless examples, though technically not 2004 DS, often got lumped into the same collector discussions, as numismatists compared the sharpness and sheen. Many hoped to find business strikes that mimicked the proof-like brilliance. These were called PL coins, or proof-like, and when found in high grade from Denver, they were instantly separated, graded, and valued at hundreds of dollars by discerning dealers. Grading agencies such as PCGS and NGC saw a slow but steady rise in 2004 D submissions beginning in 2010. Most coins came back in the range of MS63 to MS65 red, which, while respectable, were not exceptionally rare. But then came the outliers. In 2018, a single example submitted to PCGS came back with the nearly unheard-of grade of MS68 plus red. With radiant luster, razor-sharp strike, and zero visible marks, this coin went on to fetch an unbelievable $500 in a heated online auction. It wasn't about the year or rarity, it was about perfection, and that's what made the 2004 D penny such a fascinating mystery. It was common in theory, yet remarkable in practice. If preserved just right, if saved from the clinking abrasion of change drawers and vending machines, if tucked away unknowingly in a coin roll for 20 years, it had the potential to become a treasure. One story emerged in 2022 of a retired teacher in Kansas who had been saving coins in a glass jar since her early career. One weekend, her grandson visited and asked to go through the jar together. Among the mix of quarters, nickels, and tarnished cents was a bright, near-pristine 2004 D penny. On a whim, they sent it in for grading. When it came back MS68 red, it was appraised at nearly $200. That weekend became a family legend, the day a single cent bought them a vacation. So where does the value of a 2004 D penny stand today? For circulated coins, it's still worth 1 cent. For clean, red, high-grade examples, the value climbs swiftly. An MS-66 red can bring $30 to $50. An MS-67 red can touch $200 to $300. And those rare MS-68 Plus coins? They're worth thousands, not because of age or rarity, but because of condition and preservation. Even now, coin roll hunters and collectors continue to hunt the 2004 D penny, not just for the obvious errors or high grades, but for the thrill of it. Because every now and then, a coin that once jingled unnoticed in someone's pocket becomes a piece of American numismatic history. A reminder that even the smallest, most unassuming objects can hold immense value, if only we know where and how to look. There's something deeply personal about finding a coin that carries meaning, something that connects your hands to another time, another moment in American history. For collectors of the 2004 D Lincoln Cent, the search isn't just about money. It's about discovery. Each tiny copper-plated piece is like a time traveler, a relic that passed through countless unknown lives before arriving in a roll, in a jar, or maybe nestled quietly inside a child's first coin folder. And that's where passion begins. Some numismatists recall their first 2004 D find with vivid detail, as if it were a memory etched in gold. A college student in Oregon, new to the hobby, recounted finding an unusually bright 2004 D penny in his wallet change. It had an almost mirror-like shine, a smooth surface that sparkled in the sunlight. Curious, he tucked it away and later submitted it for grading. That penny, perfectly preserved and unnoticed for years, earned an MS-67 red grade and was later sold for $280, money he used to buy his first professional coin loop and reference books. That single cent became the foundation of his growing collection, but not all treasures are instantly visible. The real magic lies in the subtle. Look closely at a 2004 D cent, and you may catch tiny dye chips on Lincoln's coat or beard, features affectionately nicknamed beard bubbles or coat buttons by roll hunters. These minute imperfections might seem insignificant, but to error specialists, they're gold. While not massively valuable on their own, coins showing unique or dramatic versions of these chips can attract niche collectors who prize uniqueness. A dramatic die chip covering Lincoln's I once sold on eBay for $60, not because it was rare, but because it looked like Lincoln was wearing an eye patch, quirky and unforgettable. Some coins tell stories with sound. Tap a pre-1982 solid bronze penny and it sings with a high, rich tone. Tap a post-1982 zinc penny, like the 2004 D, and the sound is duller, lower, quieter. To some seasoned collectors, even the sound of the coin is a giveaway, a whisper of its true composition. That's how one elderly collector in Ohio first suspected he had something special. A 2004 D penny sounded off, richer, heavier. It turned out to be a bronze planchet error, a rare occurrence where a blank from the wrong metal type was fed into the coin press. That coin sold at auction for $7,800, and the man donated half the proceeds to a local children's hospital. His philosophy was simple: the coin had passed through the world and returned with a story, and a purpose. As time moves forward, the number of untouched 2004 D pennies in perfect condition dwindles. Each year, coins corrode, get scratched, are lost, or find their way into coin-counting machines that show no mercy. That makes the remaining high-grade specimens increasingly scarce. So collectors scour coin rolls, examine change under microscopes, and chase auction listings, hoping to find that elusive gem. The story of the 2004 D penny is not just about a piece of copper and zinc. It's about the thrill of the unknown. The excitement of wondering whether something common can secretly be uncommon. Whether a coin that passed through 100 hands could be the one that changes yours. And as for the ultimate value? For the average 2004 D cent, it's still 1 cent. For lightly circulated coins with good eye appeal, maybe a few bucks. For mint state examples, MS-66 red coins range between $20 and $50. If you're lucky enough to have an MS-67 red, you're looking at $150 to $300, depending on market demand. And the crown jewel, an MS-68 Plus red with perfect luster, strike, and no visible marks, has sold for up to $5,500. A single penny, once tossed into a change tray without a second thought, now a centerpiece in a collector's display case, but even more than the price tag, it's the possibility that keeps collectors coming back. It's the idea that treasure doesn't always glitter. Sometimes it jingles quietly in your pocket, and so, if you're watching this, maybe you're holding a 2004 Lincoln Cent in your hand right now. Maybe it's nothing special. Or maybe, just maybe, you're looking at something rare. Something forgotten by millions, but found by you. That's the magic of coin collecting. That's the story hidden inside every penny.